Hello Dragon Ball players, I'm Legends Michael Carrick of Team Foe/PVG, and I'm here to bring you another exciting top 8 deck list from this weekend's Webcam Invitational number 2 by PPG. I decided to play Trunks this weekend because Red Broly seems to be the dominant deck in this format, followed right by Dark Broly. And Trunks, in theory, has a really good matchup versus both of them. The fact that he can't be crit versus Red Broly means that I can get all of my life to my hand as combo power, and I can use some of those early, some of those shield triggers that you'll see later in my deck to fight back versus early aggro. And I think blue just naturally has a good matchup versus black, especially Dark Broly where we have like Trunks or prospects to buy us a turn, or Saiyan destroys to buy us a turn. They can't really do anything else for their turn. But let's jump right into that deck list. So going into this deck list, we have Trunks and Trunks Envoy of Justice. On the front side, Trunks says, on both sides rather, Trunks says during your opponent's turn, if you would add a card from your life to your hand or place it in your drop area, you may reveal it and add it to your hand instead. This means that anytime you would get crit during your opponent's turn or be burned, like even catastrophic blow or any kind of effects that might send your life direct to the drop, you can just reveal the life and add it instead. There are some neat tricks with this where you can actually sparking dimension magic and add the card to your hand, or play. You can sparking like a shield trigger with dimension magic and play out the shield trigger. It's pretty neat. This card, when this card attacks, draw a card, standard. And then the second really exciting reason why we played Trunks this weekend was for his Awaken. It says when your life or your opponent's life is at 4 or less, you may draw one card, switch up to one of your energy to active mode, and flip this card over. So many decks in this format want to get to 4 life as fast as they possibly can to get their engine going and leave you in the dust, such as Red Broly taking their own life. We have Dark Broly taking their own life. We have Majin Vegeta taking their own life. So it's easy enough to awaken at 7 or 8 life with this leader because your opponent went to 4 life. On the backside, he retains that uncrit ability permanent. He still retains that when this card attacks, draw one card, and he gets a really niche ability where you can tap 2 blue energy, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, and bottom deck it. And then at the end of your turn, you can untap one of your mono blue energy. Pretty cool for controlling the field, and definitely helpful versus these really tall decks coming out in this format. So we'll launch right into the deck. Right off the bat, we have 3 copies each of what I call the mana dorks of the deck. They are your shield triggers. When they get revealed from life, like when you would add them from your life to your hand, you may reveal them instead, and they will go directly to your energy, and then you'll draw a card in place for them. And then at the end of your next turn, they'll get sent to the drop area. Not a problem. This is really cool because it lets you get to 3 energy versus these early game decks while you're on the back foot, and maybe drop baby hatch early and save your life. I originally started testing the deck at 4 each, but I found that I drew these too often, and plus with a couple other techs in the deck, I just had these in my hand too often, and being a 0 for 5k combo card is not good enough. And then we have our third shield trigger. We have Trunks Never-Ending Justice. Just like these two, when this card would be added to your hand from your life, you may play it from your life instead. When you do play it, it is a 15k blocker. It also returns up to 2 battle cards to your opponent's from your opponent's side of the field to their hand. This is probably the best answer to early game aggro for a blue deck. And Trunks' ability to swap these cards into their life from their hand is why we played this leader with these cards. And then we play the card that made all of this possible. In the newest EX pack, we have Trunks' Power to Save the Future. He is a 1 energy 4k blocker. When he is played, he requires a Trunks leader. He will allow you to add 2 cards from your hand to your life face up, which is really cool, and then take 2 life from your life back to your hand. This a lot of times can be seen as a draw too when you're adding these cards to your life because you can set up for your future plays, and it really plays to the style that like future Trunks, like you're playing towards your future with this card. And I think this really made the deck push forward. When this leader opens this card versus its good matchups, it is incredible. When it misses on this card, you're relying a lot of times on luck, which is why we can't wait for that tournament pack Tapion to come fast enough. Next, we'll play our ramp card, or our mini objection as I call it. We have Super Saiyan Blue Son Goku the Boundless. This is a tournament pack card from set 11. It's a 1 energy 5k auto if your leader is a blue Trunks, once again requiring this leader. when this card is played, you may pick up an energy from your energy area, and you may charge the top card of your deck in rest mode. So this is how you're gonna like permanently ramp with this leader. If you hit one of these shield triggers off life, remember how I said they go away at the end of the turn? You can pick it up on your turn for 1 energy to add it to your hand, and then place the top card from your deck to your energy area, and now you have permanently increased your mana flow. This gives you an edge versus decks like Go Tanks or more mid-rangey decks like other mono blue leaders that aren't Trunks and able to do this. And then to round out our 1-drops, we have 2 copies of My Bulwark of the Future. One of the issues I was having with this deck is you're left in a lot of positions where you just kind of have to, like, you have 1 or 2 energy to use and you have nothing to do with it. My gives us a way to use that energy. In this version of the deck, she can really only search the Trunks named. I'm going to explain what she does real quick. For 1 energy, she comes down auto when this card is played. Look at the top 5 cards for either a Trunks Future card or a Unison a 2-drop or less. I do not play a Unison a 2-drop or less yet. The TP is going to bring a 2-drop Tapion that's going to be crazy for this deck, adding 4 more targets for mine. Until then, we only will be playing like 14 Trunks targets, give or take. And that in itself is good enough warrants playing this card. It allows you, more importantly, it gives you another starter card for your turn 1 to hopefully find your Trunks blocker. It can maybe find these Trunks to send away with your Trunks blocker, send to your life. It can maybe find your God Sealing technique and maybe find your heroic prospects. So all in all, very synergistic with the deck. She definitely will be stronger next format. This is the only negate we play in the main deck. We will play Vegeta Warrior Cross time. He is a 3-drop negate. However, if your leader is a blue Trunks, which we are, during your opponent's turn, this card becomes a 1 energy card, a blue Trunks Future. Apologies. So it becomes a 1 energy blue negate. Play this card 15k beat sticks, and his name is Vegeta, and that will matter in a moment. We ended up not playing Dimension Magic in this deck because we can't really do anything with the energy on our opponent's turn. The only actual opponent's turn of cards that we have are Heroic Prospects and this. And so, like, as a result, D-Match just didn't really find a spot. Plus, with all the silver bullets coming out of that draft box 6 with the Mai, the Borgos, and the Vegeta, it just seemed kind of silly to rely on a negate that couldn't punch back. Plus, the fact that it can hit allows us to challenge Red Broly and challenge Fields for free. And then we're going to get into our mid-game of the deck. Our mid-game card is going to be Vegito, Super Saiyan Blue Vegito Soaring Blow. There is a version of this card that comes out in the Set 11's box, but that card requires you to be at 4 energy to play. Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta Soaring Blow comes down at 0 energy. You could have, it doesn't matter what your energy is and allows you to play. Its permanent says you can Union Potara out of your energy. With the or you can Union Potara using the targets out of your energy. That is huge because a lot of time you're going to have these shield triggers that are going to go away at the end of the turn, and you can use Vegito to fuse them away instead, allowing you to get extra use out of them once you're tapped out. Additional cool combos is you can attack with Vegeta Warrior that cross time, and then fuse on top with one of the Soaring Blows using a different Goku. That clears off this unique negate off your field, and it gives you an extra attack. Not to mention, this is a Goku, so we do play 7 Gokus and 7 Vegetas, giving you ample targets for Vegito Soaring Blow. Following Vegito Soaring Blow, we do have our late game ender. We are playing a blue deck, so we do expect the game to go quite a while. We do have Super Saiyan Blue Vegito Paralyzing Prowess. This is the Vegito version of Gogeta 7. He comes down for 4 energy, has Deflect and Bear. He is not getting off the field. He evolves directly on top of this Vegito. When he comes down, your opponent is forced to bottom deck 2 cards from his hand. He is also a triple strike, so when he attacks, your opponent will once again have to bottom deck 2 cards from their hand. This card is only legal in a Trunks Future deck, or only gets that effect in a Trunks Future deck, which is why, once again, we are playing this leader. Additionally, when Vegito Soaring Blow comes down, that auto is not once per turn. So when he comes down, you're going to take 4 cards from your opponent's hands more likely that turn, if not going for the kill. Launching into our Unison, like I said, next format will bring us a new Unison. We'll probably have that Tapion 2-drop out of that TP out of set, whatever this set coming out is, 12 I think, or 13. And then for now, we're going to play this Baby the Unknown Parasite. You ask, why would you play a 3-drop Unison instead of a 2-drop Unison? Well, most of the time on your turn 2, you will be at 3 energy because of your mana shield triggers. So that allows you to play Baby the Unknown Parasite on turn 2, turning alive your Unison counterplay cards and allowing you to start getting that draw engine going. Being at a 5 life Unison, it's very hard to check this card, and this leader shockingly does not actually draw that much. But with the addition of Baby the Unknown Parasite, you can both threaten the Baby Avenger Golden Ape because you are mono blue leader and that -5, and it gives you some extra reach with that 15k double strike or plus 15k double strike on your leader. When that Tapion comes out, it's very likely that we will play either a 4-2 spread of Unisons, 4 Tapion, 2 Baby, or 3-3 spread. Testing will be needed. Of course, since we are playing a blue Unison and a blue leader, with blue energy, we are going to play the best, I think, the best counterplay in this game. We have Trunks' God Sealing Technique. Trunks' God Sealing Technique, of course, can be played as long as you have 2 counters on your blue Unison. You activate it and you may discard it from your hand. If you do, the battle card being played gets sent back to the hand. This buys you so many turns versus so many decks, especially versus Red Broly. When you're trying to remove their cards, you could actually use this to counter their leader effect to replay their cards. A lot of people don't know the second effect, but God Sealing can be activated just to play onto the field and become an extra 15k beater for this deck. A lot of this time in this deck, you're just poking people to death and controlling the game out. And the only super combo we're going to play is Zeno, Edge of Space. I did mention earlier that we have a lot of really awkward turns where we only have 1 energy or 1 or 2 energy, nothing to do with them. Zeno, Edge of Space allows us to cast this little guy for 1 blue energy, and he will draw a card and then later can be used as super combo to pick up things. He has a second use in this deck. Remember how I said these cards will go away at the end of your next turn? If you do hit this as a shield trigger and you're below 5 life, you can activate Zeno's ability as a super combo, pick up one of your shield triggers, shuffle it in your hand a little bit, and put the same one down, preventing it from disappearing at the end of the next turn. Very niche use with this deck. There is a world where I even considered playing 2-2 of a draw combo, because I did mention the deck didn't draw enough, but ultimately being able to play Zeno on your turn and having him lift up, like his synergy with the deck was just way too effective to cut him. And then because we are in this format of people cheating out big things for no energy, we are going to play 2 copies of one of the best blue counterattacks in the game. You may ask yourself, why not play more than 2 copies? Well, that's because I'm poor. I do only play... you can play this card versus Dark Broly, Red Broly, Green Gotenks, so it is very good, and I'd probably play 3 copies if I could afford it. And some people might consider playing 4, but I gotta ask you, how many times do you think you're really gonna resolve this in a game effectively? And I don't think 4 times is the result. However, the fact that he is a blue Trunks means he does synergize with this My Bulwark of the Future, and so you can afford to play less copies of him in this deck, and you don't want to open him that early because he's not live until your Unison is live. That is really the core of the deck and what makes the deck so cool, and then we'll just move on to some blue good stuff. Omni after Image Slash was a conscious decision. There are currently 2 really good 4-drops you could play. You could play this. You could play the Maraikim from Universe 3. Or Universe 10. The Maraikim is obviously very good versus green, and the Omni is good against everything else. And then, of course, there's going to be the Gotenks coming out in set 12. The reason why I went with the Omni, there is a really cool Nuts Draw play where you can open with Trunks' Power to Save the Future, put 2... Mana Dorks into your life, you get hit twice, and then on turn 2 you can slam down Omni, attack or get your 3 tokens, and then use Vegito to fuse away the tokens, and your tempo is just so far ahead your opponent cannot recover. And because you have so many attackers on the field, you are definitely going to be able to awaken and use 1 more energy that turn if you really like. Omni also allows us to untap 1 energy as a 4-drop, allowing us to use our 1-drop negates like Heroic Prospects and the Vegeta Warrior that cross time. This is why we ultimately ended up going with Omni. Future testing will decide whether we change this out or not. And then I said we were playing blue good stuff, so we were playing Baby Golden Avenger. A lot of times our games go out into the late game, and we can just hold 2 of these in the game. We can tap out for one of them, use the Unison -5 to play the other one. We can even hardcast this big guy, or if we hold this behind the Vegito Paralyzing Prowess, it just seems like an obvious way to end the game. And of course, everybody by now knows Baby Hatchiak Saiyan Destroyer. This Unison is really unfair in this deck because we reach 3 energy so absurdly fast that aggro decks are just upset. If you see this card in your opening hand, you're keeping it. If you see this card later in the game, you feel like you won the game. As a blue deck, this SCR is the way to go. It is a free cast SCR in this deck by discarding one of your many dead cards later, and it effectively ends your opponent's turn. And then since your deck is trying to poke to death anyways, a 40k poke, they're either negating it or they're taking the damage at the end. So that was the main deck of Trunks. Like I said earlier, I specifically played this deck to snipe out Dark Broly and Red Broly players, and for this event I played against, my rounds were 2-1 versus Invoker, 2-1 versus Red Broly, 2-0 versus Alliance Beerus. I lost to Reboot Gohan because that deck has way too many attacks for this deck to actually take on. If you notice, there aren't actually that many negates, and there's not much actual combo power in the deck. They're all 0 for 5Ks. And the super combo doesn't draw, so you can't really combo out of anything. However, this deck does have the benefit of not getting crit out by Fee Kamehameha. Then I 2-0'd another Red Broly following that, and finally finished up by 2-0'ing a Dark Broly, and ironically went 0-2 versus a Red Broly in top 8 to lose out to my good friend and teammate Andrew Duvall. I hope he takes this event down. If there are any changes I would have made to this deck, it's how I mulligan. A lot of the times I'm mulliganing for, if I see this one drop, it's an easy mulligan. You can keep some of the mana dork, some of your shield triggers, and then you go for the Parasite, the Unison. And then a lot of times, even if I don't see this, I kept this card, just hoping that I would hit the hoping that I would hit a mana dork off of a random life trigger. And I mean, it sucks to admit that, but sometimes this deck does rely on a bit of luck, because if you do hit that mana trigger and you have this card in your hand, on your turn 2 you can slam this down and your tempo is just way far ahead. God Sealing Technique's ahead, and you just keep your opponent on the back foot for the rest of the game and they just can't catch up. In terms of other mulligans, if you can't find this blocker, then Mai is a good keep otherwise to play with. I wouldn't keep any of these Boundless or anything else. You're mainly just looking for either these two or the Unison. So we'll go ahead and continue this deck profile. Going to the side deck, we do have our After Image tokens. They served us well. Right away, we're going to play 2 God Slicing Black Kamehameha. This is a card I was just not very skilled with today. When it came up, it was very good. It is essentially a second God Sealing technique you play by discarding 2 cards from your hand while you have a Unison out. It will get rid of any 4-drop or lower. Very effective versus Red Burly. And it will bottom deck that card, and you will draw a card. This card is definitely really good for mono blue decks. I can play a blue Unison, and I definitely suggest people get used to playing with this card if you want to be a mono blue player, just so you get used to like when it's effective, what windows you should really use it on. Because if you do use it too early or use it in the wrong time, you're going to discard cards that you might need, or you're just going to put yourself in a corner. I sideboarded 4 my Supporter of Hope blockers because I'm terrible at this game. I originally thought it'd be such a good call versus these heavy aggro decks such as like VJX or Red Broly or Majin Vegeta or Reboot Gohan, because they had very little removal naturally built in their kit. But I realized way too late today that everybody's playing Secret Identity, Mysterious Black Saiyan, and I ultimately stop siding this card in, so I probably won't have these cards back in my sideboard the next time I play this deck, which is a good thing for everybody that's trying to foil out this deck, because this card doesn't come in foil. Then, because we are a blue leader, we did side some D-Magics. In the future, I'd probably side a few more Dimension Magics over these blockers. I sided these in case I ran into Reboot Gohan or Majin Vegeta, or anything I really just actually couldn't afford to take the hit from. I just needed extra negates. And of course, what negate would you pick other than the actual best negate in the game? I sided 4 Senzu Beans, expecting a lot of Vegeks or a wide aggro. This is a card that I originally thought I would side versus Red Broly, but their attacks are just way too big over your leader's face. The Senzu Bean didn't matter much, and like I said before, we can't really use the energy on our opponent's turn, so we don't main this card anymore. So versus stuff like VJX or Ginyu, once you're awakened, the Senzu Bean does just buy you turns. And we play 1 Food Shrouded Mystery versus those matchups where we'd have to go really late, such as Mono Blue matchups or the Sin Shenron matchups. Fortunately, this format is very aggro heavy. I never had to side this in. I know I said that, and I played against Invoker game 1, but this is a terrible card to side versus Invoker. Should they reach their kill turn, this card is irrelevant. And then, of course, versus Green Coat Tanks, we do swap out the Omnis for these 2 Moraikin Brave Bruisers. Fairly obvious, they are barrier. They do double strike dual attack, which gets right through the dormant potential unleashed. And like I said, it's very debatable which one should be in the main. And I do think there's a heavy case for Omni, as I put forth earlier. But that is the entire deck list for today. It definitely performed very well, taking only 4 game losses in Swiss, 1 match loss in Swiss, and then of course the match loss in top 8. I definitely Not sure how I want to perform or if I want to continue playing this deck in set 12. I did mention the Tapion is really good for the deck. However, Turles is a direct counter to this deck as the Turles leader decides what life you take. Meaning you can't selectively choose to use your shield triggers, and that just means you have one bad matchup. However, moving forward, it does have, like I said, really good matchups versus Dark Broly and Red Broly, making it probably the only good real mono blue contender in this format. So take this deck out for a spin. Tell me what you think, and best of luck. Shout outs to all my friends and family that support me going through this game. I mean, we have Foe. They really just create this great atmosphere to play with. They have these huge brands on the team helping you just figure out what to do. We have PPG hosting these tournaments, and of course, all my friends from the Fort Walton area helping me understand how to play this game and just get better at this game. And yeah, till next time.